Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 8:47 a.m. South African time. We cross over to Palestine and we're going to be joined by Osama Nazzal. He is a Palestine Broadcast International manager and he's going to tell us exactly what's the state of play in that part of the world. We do know that hundreds of Palestinians have taken part in vigils and rallies to condemn what they describe as a massacre. We also know that rockets air attacks in Gaza has followed the deadly Israeli raid in Jenin. Assalamu alaikum to you, Osama. Welcome to the program. And we are so very saddened to hear about this latest state of affairs in your part of the world. These incursions, these ongoing killings, and the occupation by the Zionists. Welcome, and just how dire is the situation?
Yeah. First, thank you very much for inviting me to my program, to your program, and good morning to our friends, brothers, and sisters in South Africa. This country that has historical relationship with the Palestinian people, and we are really very much proud of this relationship due to the very commonality that we have between Palestine and South Africa. Really, the situation, as you started in your introduction, is very dire. And just while I'm speaking now, I received a news item from the Palestinian city of Hebron in the south of the occupied West Bank. A Palestinian youth was just murdered by the Israeli occupation forces this morning, raising the number of the Palestinian martyrs this month to 37 Palestinians. So yes, the Israeli killing machine is going on daily basis. In addition to the killing of the Palestinians, more restrictions are imposed by the Israeli occupation forces on the different roads of the occupied West Bank. In addition to the punitive measures, as Israeli occupation government Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu named, start to be implemented against the Palestinian citizens of occupied Jerusalem in terms of demolition, sealing of their houses in preparation for their demolition, because Israel is applying the collective punishment policy. So if a Palestinian youth acts against the Israeli occupation, all the members of his family would be punished, and this type of punishment includes home demolition. At the same time, Jerusalem is now completely separated from the rest of the Palestinian territory, no entry and no exit, and the situation to other parts of the occupied West Bank is not different. What is more dangerous in the Palestinian territory today is really the Israeli colonizers, the Israeli settlers' violence against the Palestinians. Now, these Israeli settlers are armed to the teeth and they are supported by the Israeli army, invading the Palestinian villages, setting fire to the Palestinian houses and to the Palestinian cars and to the Palestinian properties. Just yesterday and last night, these settlers set fire to many Palestinian properties and to many Palestinian houses, and the Israeli occupation army and the Israeli occupation police are just watching these arsons and these attacks by the Israeli colonizers against the Palestinians. When they intervene, when the Palestinians come to defend themselves or to defend their houses or their properties. Why? Because this is the mission of the Israeli occupation army only, to protect the Israeli colonizers, to wreak havoc, and to make the life of the Palestinians more complicated and much harder. This is the situation that we have right now in the occupied Palestinian territory.
And that is their ultimate aim, is it not? They're hoping and praying that the Palestinians will give up and leave their rightful homeland so that the occupiers can then take over. Very sad indeed. I understand that Khader Habib, an Islamic Jihad spokesperson, has said in a statement that the Palestinian people had been subjected to unprecedented killings and attacks by the new Israeli government in all parts of the West Bank amid the complete absence of international intervention. So the international community just seems to have closed their eyes and ears regarding the atrocities uh, that is being waged upon the innocent Palestinian people.
Yeah, the Israeli killing machine has been operating against the Palestinians since the Palestinian Nakba in 1948, and this has not stopped at all. But the Israeli escalation against the Palestinian people these days is taking new turns amid deadly international silence. That is true. The international community does not intervene at all without seeing that the Israeli occupiers themselves are paying part of the price when there is a reaction from the Palestinians' side. The international community had failed the Palestinians so long, and despite all the offers that were given by the Palestinian people in order to achieve peace and to live side by side with Israel, accepting to have their statehood only on 22% of the total area of historic Palestine. Despite all these offers and despite all these concessions, the United Nations and the international powers around the world did not pressure Israel to come to terms with this offer. And the only thing that we receive from the United Nations and the world is a lip service. And the Palestinians no longer trust such kind of support by the international community, because what is demanded is implementation of the resolutions taken by the international community itself, which the Palestinians stick to and approve of, ending the Israeli occupation of the occupied Palestinian territory and allowing the Palestinians to live in peace and security on their homeland and in their independent state on the land occupied in 1967. Today we have the American Secretary of State, Mr. Blinken, but of course we expect nothing from his visit because we know of the American attitude and the American political trend when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian question. They are coming in order to put more pressure on the Palestinians not to act, not to defend themselves, not to take any step in response to the Israeli spiraling violence against the Palestinian children, the Palestinian women in the refugee camps and in the different parts of Palestine. Just yesterday, we have two Palestinians killed. Today, we have another Palestinian killed. So every day, every morning we wake up, we receive the news of the Israeli occupation forces and the Israeli colonizers killing of the Palestinian youth, children, and women.
Obviously, the Palestinians are not going to sit back and take this lightly. You will do everything in your power to retaliate. But we do know that force against the heavily armed military might of the Israelis. But the Palestinian people have vowed to fight to their last breath, and you will continue to do so. However, does that not then suggest a possibility of further conflict?
In light of the current situation and the policy of the current Israeli far right government, which is established, of course, of the religious Zionism and the most extremist officials in Israel, like Beni Gvir, Smotrich, and their likes, I think the situation is going to get from bad to worse, and more escalation from the Israeli occupation forces and settlers is expected against the Palestinian people. With regard to the Palestinian response, you know that the Palestinian people are defenseless, really. If we compare what the Palestinians have to what Israel has, it is zero power. The Palestinians have no arms, no weapons. The Palestinians stick to the option of popular resistance, but this never means that the Palestinians are going to raise the white flag and surrender anytime. And Israel, of course, is aware of that, and the whole world is aware of that, that the Palestinians have been fighting for their freedom and independence since the start of the Israeli colonization of their land. And during the first Palestinian Intifada in the 80s, the Palestinians showed the world the courage and the power of their youth and their men and women, of course, using the available resources. Here, when we are talking about the Palestinians' defense of themselves, we are not talking about Palestinians having arms or having rockets or having war planes. Really, the Palestinians are facing the Israeli killing machine with their naked chest, with their flesh, and with their blood. That is the reality of the disequilibrium of power that we have here. But what we count hope on is our brothers, sisters, and the friends around the world, the people who have voice for justice, the people who have voice for peace. And I think the Palestinian solidarity movement and the international solidarity movement is demanded now to raise its voice and to organize a protest in the international capitals in support of the Palestinian people in order to pressure their parliaments and their governments to place pressure on the Israeli government to stop its pogroms and its massacres against the Palestinians. And just yesterday, we watched the Palestinian American community and the American activists in the city of New York taking to the streets and calling on the American administration to stop supporting the Israeli occupation government and to pressure the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to rein in his colonizers and his soldiers and to stop killing innocent Palestinians, killing them just because they call for justice and for peace. That is the message the Palestinians have.
Sadly, there is the fear amongst the Palestinians as well that this could be the start of a new war and a very vicious war against the defenseless Palestinian people. How real is that possibility?
The Israeli occupation government has never stopped its war on the Palestinians. And if we go back in history, just last year,
I'm
Israel,
talking I'm
yeah,
talking about a full scale war. Really a full scale war where they are intent on annihilating the Palestinian people. That is a real possibility, is it not?
now the Israeli government that is formed of the most right parties and the religious Zionist parties has a clear plan, and Beni Gvir and the Smotrich of the Jewish power and the religious Zionism parties approved of establishing this government with the Likud party, with Benjamin Netanyahu, based on clear agreements that they signed with their prime minister. And these agreements call for more escalation, more violence against the Palestinians, and for the expansion of the Jewish settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. And the core of the conflict now is the Israeli colonial settlements because they are threatening the very existence of the Palestinian people and end any potential and any possibility for having a Palestinian state in the land occupied in 1967. So this is the plan, and the Israeli government decided just days ago to prevent the Palestinian people from constructing even a kitchen or a toilet on 62% of the Palestinian land in the West Bank, which they call Area C, according to Oslo Accord. So they started this process. Why this decision was taken? In order to allow more Israeli colonizers and more settlements in this area. So, by taking this decision and by the start of the implementation of this decision, I think they put an end to any possibility for calm, for peace, and for the possibility of enabling the Palestinians to have their statehood on this land, which is slated for Palestinian state, not by the Palestinians themselves, but also by the United Nations and by the community of nations. So yes, the situation is prone and private to more escalation, and of course, the victim of this escalation is going to be the Palestinian people because just last night the Israeli government decided to arm more than 17,000 Israeli settlers. Here we are not talking about the Israeli army, we are talking about the new Israeli militias. And these militias' mission is to kill Palestinians and to attack Palestinian villages and Palestinian towns. So again, the Palestinians alone cannot resist such military power, and what is demanded is international voice and the role of the international solidarity, and the people who support the cause of Palestine and who support justice are demanded now to take to the streets and organize demonstrations and protests to pressure their governments to intervene and to pressure the Israeli government, this apartheid government, to stop its plan of carrying out massive massacres against the Palestinians.
And that's where we leave it. Very, very sadly, it's quite clear that the international community have closed their eyes and turned their backs on the Palestinian people. They are in the pockets of the occupiers. It suits them, it suits their agendas. Whatever their agendas may be, it might be a lucrative arms deal trade and a whole host of other issues. So the international community at this point in time seems to have turned their backs on the Palestinian people. But voices like ours will continue raising your plight as the Palestinian people. We will do everything we can to make sure that your story is always kept alive in the media. And we make ongoing dua for your emancipation, inshallah, as a people and the rightful owners of the land of Palestine. Thank you for talking to us. Allah be with one and all, inshallah, and salamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
That was Osama Nazzal. He is a Palestine Broadcast International Manager talking to us about what is actually happening in Jenin and obviously the rest of the occupied territories. This is News and Views on Salam Media. The time is 9:04, inshallah. In a minute or so, we'll be joined by our news correspondent, and that, of course, is Zai Jadwood with the news bulletin of the morning.